People of the internet, this is Lee, and today I'm going to be discussing Outcast. This is written by Robert Kirkman. It's issue number 3, and the art is by Paul Azaceta. The colors are by Elizabeth Breitweiser, and I mentioned that. I've mentioned her before. I think she does a really terrific job of just adding dimension to the panels and rounding out the images that you see in the book. So I wanted to mention that there again. The first thing I'm going to discuss with this particular issue is the cover. This is a horror comic. It's not, and you can see from the cover, it's just completely unexpected. Both with the content, you've got just a very romantic scene between a couple, and with the subheading there, the title of this particular story arc is, or this issue, is I Remember When She Loved Me. And these are just very unexpected things from a horror comic book. And the story itself is fairly unexpected so far. When I read issue 1, I thought it would be just straightforward with the exorcisms. It would get straight to the meat of things. But it really hasn't. It's actually taken the time to flesh out the individual characters, and I really like that. This particular issue is primarily a quiet issue. There's some action in the very beginning. It starts off with that, but it doesn't have context, so it leaves you wondering. It's sort of like a prologue, and then it goes into the actual story with our protagonist, Kyle, as well as the Reverend, who's also a very main character. He's our secondary character. I'm going to discuss each of them and their development individually because it both happens, and I think they're both very important to the story. So first I'll talk about Kyle, since he is our main character. He is what this book is all about. The story is following him, and the Reverend just happens to be a part of his life, and that's how he comes into this. So when they're fleshing out Kyle, in previous issues they have done some just going back with flashbacks, memories, and it's very clearly woven into the story in such a way that it is a memory. Everything that is being shown that happened in the past is relevant to what's happening in the current issue, and Kirkman's just done a terrific job of continuing with that. So here he's really rounding out Kyle. He's showing him as having had a love in his past, and the loss of that love has shaped him. So it just makes him really somebody you recognize within yourself, somebody you can identify with. And I think that's really terrific for a comic book or any book. You want to be able to identify with your main character so that you just get really invested in the story. And Kirkman is doing an excellent job of just drawing us in through Kyle. I really love the scenes that are taking place in the past, and I love his interactions that happen in the present as well. I think that ultimately this is just going to be it's a very well thought out character, and I think that we're all going to become very attached to him, so hopefully he doesn't die. But that is me being a pessimist. So moving on. Now I'm going to talk about the Reverend. I've mentioned in my review of issue 2, he's a man of God, he's a man of faith, it's a Christian faith, hence Reverend. And so his church, is just very important to him. And you see that here still. However, it's not the entirety of his character. He has more going on than just that, and he has a darker side to him too. A lot of people think of clergy as being on a pedestal, not really having inappropriate thoughts or actions, or really doing anything besides standing behind a podium and giving a liturgy. So just the fact that they are creating a character that we can actually identify with and still be a man of the cloth is something I haven't really seen very much of. And in doing that, there are, again, just a lot of quiet scenes. There's interactions with him, and most of the interactions that happen in this book are just always between two people. So far, in this particular issue at least, everything is just a one-on-one conversation between two people, or a one-on-one interaction. And I think that too is adding a layer of depth that maybe we wouldn't experience if there were just a lot of people on each page. So with him and his interactions, we see this darkness, we see behavior that is really atypical and unexpected from someone of his profession. And I think that that just, like I said before, helps to make him more identifiable, makes us care more about his character than we might if he was exactly what we expected him to be. Very lily white, and it just, in that way, kind of, I hate to use the word perfect because nobody is, and it's not appropriate to expect it, but people just expect a very straight arrow from a clergy person. So this helps. And I think that the relationships that they allude to for both characters, both Kyle and the Reverend, are going to be very important in later issues. I think that everything that's happened so far is going to continue to be important in continuing issues. So this is one book where I really recommend starting with number 1 and going forward from there. If you don't already have issues 1 and 2, they're going to be a little hard to obtain. They've gone into reprint. They might even be on their 3rd or possibly 4th. Image does not do large-scale printing for the most part, and I know that all the shops I spoke with, including my own, were just out the day it came out because everybody's so excited about Kirkman with his work on The Walking Dead and other things he's written. So as far as getting issues 1 and 2, it might be a little hard to come by if you can do. Otherwise, consider just waiting and picking it up as a trade paperback. Image is terrific about releasing trade paperbacks fairly quickly once they have enough content for it. And they're also great. Usually the first trade paperback is set at $9.99, so it's very affordable, and it usually has, I think, about 4, maybe 5 issues in it, so even a cost savings. This is one where if you pick up the volume, I think you'll really sit down and enjoy the story. So if you haven't read it yet, if you can't get a hold of issues 1 and 2, I recommend it. I will even recommend it as a trade paperback. So do get a hold of it if you are interested in Robert Kirkman, in character-driven stories, in anything to do with exorcism and just the occult in that way. There's just a wide variety of interests that this can appeal to. That's it for this title. As always, if there's anything you are interested in me reviewing, please let me know in the comments and I will try to accommodate you. Also, if you can like and subscribe to my channel, I really appreciate that. Besides that, have a great day. Thanks. Bye.